I have never seen such a pathetic male lead. He is already powerful enough to slay rivers with one sword and ghosts with one sword. There is nothing in the world that cannot be solved by his sword. He still has to hide in Novice Village to slay lantern monsters. His name is Truman. He is a reborn one. He has been in this world for more than a year. This is a world filled with demons. He, as a reborn one, has no system, spiritual constitution, or magical artifact. He only has the ability to kill monsters and level up. So he has been hiding in Novice Village, killing lantern monsters to level up slowly but safely. He is not sure about his true strength now, but he feels that he is definitely not strong. So, in order to ensure absolute certainty, he has set a small goal for himself to level up to level 100 first before anything else. A man needs to be able to endure loneliness and resist temptation. A man can only last if he can kill the lantern monster. Apart from the lantern monster, Truman will also go to the forest in the east to fight the Ghost Peak, go to the wasteland in the south to deal with the Wine Demon, and go to the foot of the mountain in the north to battle the Black Furry Ball. The only commonality among these demons is that they are weak. The weak Truman gradually strengthens himself with the help of the weak demons. The Taoist temple he is in is called the Yun Taoist Temple. The master is also a Taoist sage. He cannot stand seeing women cry. So he decisively took on the task of getting rid of the water ghost. Master handed this matter over to Truman. He also patted Truman on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry. If you can't win, Master has got your back." Upon hearing Master's words, Truman's eyes instantly lit up. The feeling of having Master's support is truly reassuring. "But Master, how can you have my back while you are in the Taoist temple?" "I have my ways." Seeing Master with the appearance of a Taoist sage, Truman felt even more that he was unfathomable. In this way, Truman followed the villagers to get rid of the water ghost. He faced the illusion technique used by the water ghost. Truman was completely unaffected. With one swing of his sword, he cut the river in half. Immediately, he swung his sword again and cleaved the water ghost in half. The whole process was smooth and without any delay. However, even so, Truman still lacks confidence. He feels that if the illusion technique of that water ghost were to be 1,000 times stronger, it might have confused him. Just the thought of it makes him shudder. As someone weak and powerless, he finally took another step closer to the mighty master. This male lead has been reborn into the cultivation world for over a year now. But he has been hiding in the Novice Village's 10-mile slope, grinding monsters, refusing to go out. Just because he feels he is not strong enough. As a reborn one, he has also wondered if he is being too cowardly like this. It's impossible to leave the starting point after not leaving Novice Village for over half a year. Without cheat code, he can only grind lantern monsters hard to level up to level 100 first. It would be even better if he could buy a house. In this world, anything can go wrong, but buying a house will definitely not be wrong. Head Constable Cho came looking for him that day. He said there's a case involving a ghost at the yamen. Cho asked him to go over and help right away. They may have to stay there tonight. Truman didn't want to go originally, because if he lived over there, his consecutive 322-day grind monster streak would be broken. But when he heard Head Constable Cho say that he could earn extra money by working night shifts, he immediately agreed to come. So, he prioritized buying a house and accepted the assignment from Head Constable Cho. He arrived at this place haunted by ghosts, according to what Everly Mateo's concubine said, ever since she married into the family. They argue every day. Unexpectedly, the primary wife couldn't bear it for a moment. Last night, she vaguely saw the primary wife climbing onto the bed. The next morning when she woke up, the lord next to her had turned into a pile of rotting flesh. And all the men in the house also died overnight. Only the women are left in the house. Truman feels that it does sound like vengeful spirit is committing the crime. So he decided to stay here tonight, to see if she would appear. However, Head Constable Cho still felt there were some doubts. Because logically speaking, the vengeful spirit is extremely rare. He has only encountered it 2 or 3 times in the past few decades. This primary wife is just jealous. What great injustice could there be? Could it be that Mateo killed his own wife? But it doesn't matter. Anyway, both of them are dead. Let them confront each other. At this moment, Everly asked Truman again. Does she need to go prepare some items? Truman smiled. He said it was unnecessary. Just rest assured. I have other ways for right of deliverance. It's night. The vengeful spirit of primary wife really arrived as scheduled. But when she flew in front of Truman, she suddenly stopped and said, What a handsome man. If Mateo were as handsome as him, maybe I wouldn't hate him either. Truman was completely stunned by her words. He hurriedly asked her if she had already let go of resentment. Primary wife chuckled and said, It's not that easy. Seeing her like this, Truman instantly became vigilant. He moved back to the corner, with his hand resting on the sword. He thought to himself, I'm only level 71 now. I'm not sure if this sword can handle her strong grudge. Who would have thought that this primary wife would actually not play by the rules? She said, as long as Truman is willing to hug her. She probably will be able to let go of the grudge then. Truman faced such unreasonable requests. Truman agreed without even thinking about it. He opened his arms. After all, he is 10 Mile Slope sword master. He always prioritizes caution in everything. The issue could be resolved with a hug from them. Why does he have to draw his sword? Primary wife happily threw herself into his arms. After a moment of embrace, primary wife's grudge dissipated. She returned to her original appearance. She left a copper coin for Truman as a service fee. The copper coin is inscribed with Hell Passage coin. However, Truman did not accept this copper coin, even though he lacks money. But what he lacks is not dead people's money. Then, there was a loud bang as the door opened. Head Constable Cho, who was waiting outside, also reacted. He saw that Truman finished so quickly. Head Constable Cho dragged him to go celebrate at Spring Blossom Pavilion. Truman waved his hand. Head Constable Cho thought he was shy. But Truman expressed, I think this kind of thing is not worth spending money. This statement made Head Constable Cho shut down instantly. After the two left, a ghost hand emerged from the shadows and picked up the copper coin left by primary wife. This male lead is simply bizarre. He can clearly slay rivers and ghosts with a single sword. He still has to hide in Novice Village's 10 Mile Slope and grind little monsters. He rarely comes out. The purpose is still just to save money to buy a house. At this time, Head Constable Cho is still inside the yamen looking at an unresolved case. The case of the Mateo tragedy has now been resolved. The next one to handle is the case of the Village Willow massacre the family. He also plans to find Truman to solve this case. Just as he was looking at the file carefully, a beautiful woman suddenly visited. The visitor introduced herself as Imperial Purple Guard Luna from the residence of Heavenward Palace Gate in Hangzhou, which is under the jurisdiction of the court in this world. It is an organization that specializes in managing ghosts and gods. She also heard about the series of vengeful spirit murder cases happening recently. That's why she came to see if Head Constable Cho couldn't solve the case and just pin the blame on evil spirit. Otherwise, if he didn't have a guilty conscience, why would he never seek help from their Heavenward Palace Gate when something happens, but instead go to ask a mysterious swindler from the martial arts world whose background is unknown? When hearing Luna say so, Head Constable Cho was scared out of his wits, sweat pouring down his back. Coincidentally, Truman showed up at this moment. Luna turned her head to look. She was immediately captivated by Truman's handsome appearance. And Head Constable Cho, at this moment, inappropriately tried to ask Truman to leave first. But he hadn't finished speaking. Luna knocked him unconscious with a swift chop. Then she happily ran to Truman. She started to introduce herself. Her changing face speed is simply terrifying. And he learned that the other party is from Heavenward Palace Gate. Truman also felt that it seemed there was no hope for the bounty afterward. He immediately planned to take his leave. But Luna coquettishly played with him at this moment. "Can you please not call me Lord? I'm still young." Cho couldn't be bothered to comment on what he heard. "You are clearly quite old." Right after, Luna used the excuse of being new and unfamiliar to invite Truman to solve the case together. And his reward will still be given as originally planned. Truman of course agreed to come down. He is not doing this for the money, but to eliminate evil and uphold justice. Shortly after, the two arrived at the scene of the family massacre. They found that the appearance of the deceased here was very suspicious. According to the results of the coroner's autopsy, the female master was beaten to death with a blunt object. The son, Grayson, was poisoned. The male master strangled himself to death. Their youngest daughter, Kinsley, fell off a hillside and died. So they concluded that it was the work of a vengeful spirit. Luna explained the situation to Truman while holding a talisman. In the meantime, she had already set up the sword-initiated rune spirit formation while talking. Even Truman couldn't help but exclaim, "That's what you call professional." At this moment, Ghost appeared. It emitted a sound of impending doom. Luna was deceived by the illusion technique in just a moment. Her eyes tightly closed, her face turning red. Shaking all over, she called out, "Dad," to Truman. Truman was left stunned. He quickly woke her up. Upon waking up, Luna was somewhat puzzled. Why didn't Truman fall for the illusion technique? She thought that the ghost just now hid the illusion technique within the nursery rhyme, making it extremely difficult to guard against. Upon hearing that Truman didn't even know what the illusion technique was, she thought he was deaf. She couldn't help but feel sorry for Truman. He is so handsome. How come Truman turns out to be deaf? But the most important thing now is how to trigger Kinsley's resentment to keep her. Now it seems that her resentment is related to her family. As soon as Truman heard about family, he immediately knew what to do. He turned around and yelled, "Your mother is dead! You are an orphan. Your family is all dead." This also instantly angered Kinsley's vengeful spirit. She rushed straight towards the two of them. Seeing that vengeful spirit had already gone berserk, Luna decided not to hold back any longer. She directly threw out all the talismans in her hand in one breath. Truman, although not knowing, why doesn't Luna just kill this vengeful spirit directly? But this move is indeed beautiful, gorgeous, and majestic. He is thinking that she must have her own reasons. And he stubbornly faced Luna's 18 sword-initiated talismans of vengeful spirit. At this point, she had also weakened and collapsed on the ground. Just at this moment, Luna was preparing to draw the sword for the final blow. This vengeful spirit actually pretended to be pitiful. This caused Luna to feel compassion. But her brief hesitation gave vengeful spirit a chance to catch her breath. Countless tentacles followed soon after. They bound him up. Truman effortlessly drew his sword and struck, instantly killing vengeful spirit. His terrifying swordsmanship even shocked Luna. When asked what the name of that strike was, Truman casually replied with, "Normal attack." Luna then asked him, in which realm of the 7 realms of heaven and man he had cultivated to. Is this move passed down from the Taoist temple lineage? This leaves Truman unsure of how to respond, because the name of this move was improvised by him. Its name also comes from a previous life. In order not to cause trouble for Master, he decided to use the methods Master usually taught him to deceive the past. He immediately said, "Follow the natural laws. These are all insights I naturally gained." I am already very impressed by Luna's abilities. Of course, Luna believes wholeheartedly in what Truman says. She also believes that he must have received the true transmission of the sage. It is thought that he has an unspeakable secret. So she happily went back with Truman to report their work. This man is simply a weirdo in the cultivation world. He was reborn into the cultivation world. He actually stayed in the novice village for more than a year. He managed to grind his level up to level 71 by killing little monsters. Now he can easily slay vengeful spirit with just one sword strike. But he still feels a bit scared. After all, the world is treacherous. The process of dealing with vengeful spirit might be simple, but it's full of traps. Luna is clearly stronger than that vengeful spirit, but almost lost her life due to being soft-hearted. If it were him at that time, could he be unyielding? The Tao Sutra says one cannot stand firm without being fierce. So he found his own master to Yun Taoist Temple's temple master Axel. He wanted to seek some knowledge about the cultivation world. For example, what are the 7 realms of heaven and man? And this so-called 7 realms of heaven and man is also common knowledge for cultivators. The 7 realms of heaven and man are the 7 realms that cultivators typically have to go through. Break the body, merge with the spirit, transform into a dragon, master the wonders of the universe, cut the decline, reach the heavens. Body refinement, forging a body as strong as steel and iron. Qi realm, transforming the Dantian into an ocean of energy. Dragon transformation realm, cultivating the body into a dragon. Myriad phenomenon realm, cultivating unity with heaven and earth. Cutting through the decline realm, cultivating transcendence and separating from the mundane. Heavenly reaching realm, cultivating into an earthly immortal. However, these realm divisions are only for ordinary people. They seem to be of no use for Truman, the 10-mile slope sword master, because his cultivation method is different from ordinary people. Level classification should not be generalized. However, he is still a bit curious. What realm is master in now? However, the answer given by Axel is that we cultivate the mind, not just the body. If we are obsessed with cultivation achievements, what use is it even if we can move mountains and seas? Don't lose your direction. Truman is even more convinced of the unfathomable depth of Master's teachings after being misled by Master like this. Master is indeed beyond his comprehension. Pay attention to this cute and adorable little fox. It is actually kneeling before the statue of the Taoist founder. Truman and Master saw this scene as soon as they entered the door. Axel could tell at a glance that this was a fox observing the ceremony. It seems that it is here to seek blessings from the 3 pure ones for its shape transformation. We may see it every day in the future. Truman is a bit puzzled about whether it is okay for a demon to visit a Taoist temple. Axel sighed, indicating that it is acceptable for it to come and pay respects. This shows that it is a demon who abides by righteousness and has never committed harmful deeds against people. Let it be. Demon shape transformation is indeed quite challenging. At least half of the demons will die in the heavenly tribulation of the shape transformation. So they will try their best to increase their success rate. Some will seek blessings from gods and Buddhas to increase their good fortune. Some will join immortal sects to seek protection. Among the 12 immortal sects, the Fengzheng sect relies on its unique Fengzheng technique to sign blood contracts with demons, making them willingly serve as slaves for 100 years. The Fengzheng sect also gains power by offering demons to court officials in exchange for privileges. In recent years, its influence has been growing stronger. Truman was somewhat puzzled. What are they offering the demons for? Axel chuckled. Big shots in Jiaoga City. They haven't seen any treasure like this before. But they just can't resist the cat-eared girl, fox spirit, beautiful woman, and mermaid. Who wouldn't be tempted by them? There are also bunny-eared girls and butterfly fairies. It's like a new trend every so often. Lately, it seems to be popular to have wings. When I was young, I used to travel around. I happened to encounter the snake demoness back then. During that time, nearly every aristocratic family in Jiaoda kept a snake demoness as a pet. They were too embarrassed to go out. Upon hearing that some people actually like to keep snakes as pets, Truman felt a chill down his spine. However, Axel was ecstatic as he explained. It's not just a snake, it's a snake transformed into a human form. Their body is soft and slippery, as if boneless. Their tongue can stretch out to 8 inches long, and it's forked. It's not uncommon for them to have forked tongues when acting as a snake. But it's quite interesting when their tongues are still forked after transforming into humans. But these things, Truman's stubborn mind is clearly unable to understand. Axel couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This disciple is good at everything. He even looks like me. Just a bit slow in the head. Should I find him a marriage proposal? So he briefly said a few words and sent Truman away. This man. He is known as Death Knight in the martial arts world. He earned this nickname because he once had a life-and-death encounter with Ghost Bride during a night of passion. With this experience, he has also become famous. When walking on the street, he can hear others gossiping about him. People say he's a well-behaved young master from a wealthy family. How did he end up being cowed by demons? Who would dare to want such a filthy man in the future? As the saying goes, flies don't bite seamless eggs. It must be because he was all dressed up and attracting attention late at night that he got noticed. Along the way, he listened to the comments of the people on the street. Wesley is also very wronged. He picked up Truman and started crying. Truman asked Wesley what he wanted. Wiping away tears, Wesley said, "I'm here to talk to you because I've fallen for a girl recently." Upon hearing it was a girl, Truman asked with a playful look, "Is she human or a ghost?" With his question, Wesley recalled the unbearable past. "Of course she's human. Being led astray by demonic magic made me mistake otherwise. If it weren't for your rescue, I would have ended up dead. Speaking of serious matters, I've had enough of playing around all these years. I should find an honest girl to marry. The girl I met this time is outstanding in terms of background, appearance, eloquence, and temperament. She is the perfect girl I have never seen before." I made up my mind at that moment that I would not marry anyone else in this life except her. However, my archenemy Lucas also has his eye on this girl. We had a confrontation this morning. In a fit of anger, we made a bet. Upon hearing about the bet, Truman instinctively asked what the bet was about. Wesley said, "Isn't there a ghost tower at Willow Archway? Let's make a bet. Both of us will stay there for a night. The loser is whoever gets scared and runs away. From now on, we're not allowed to compete for the same girl, and we must give way to each other if we meet on the road. According to the rules, we can each bring one person along. I immediately thought of you, Truman. We are friends, right? Now, only you can help me." Truman, hearing that it's such a troublesome matter. Truman refused without even thinking, but he had just turned around. After the matter is settled, Wesley said, "I will have the Yulin Taoist temple renovated once more. The scale will be doubled." He heard these words. Truman's attitude immediately changed drastically. He had a big smile on his face. "Of course, I am not doing this for money. I am doing it for the sake of brotherhood. Let's go." It's evening. As agreed, the two arrived in front of the ghost tower at Willow Archway. Lucas had been waiting here for a long time. It was obvious that he came prepared as well. He also brought his cousin Cooper along. They started a tit-for-tat exchange as soon as they met. At this moment, suddenly, a female voice nearby called out, getting their attention. Lucas immediately put on a smile when he saw the newcomer and greeted Grace. "Grace, what brings you here?" Grace, sounding displeased, responded, "You made a bet about me. The news about spending the night at Ghost Tower has spread in town. I can't just ignore it." Upon hearing this, Lucas quickly nodded in agreement. But Grace's look. She, however, saw Truman. Wesley saw her like this. He quickly asked Truman, "Do you know each other?" Truman nodded. They have some interaction. But Grace was full of admiration. "Truman is my lifesaver. My father and I were chased by the Blue Wing Tower killer, thanks to Truman's timely help with his sword." Despite the girl's enthusiasm, Truman remained unmoved and walked away without looking back. But the more he acted like this, the more obsessed the girl became. This also made the other two people extremely jealous. Shortly afterwards, several people entered the ghost tower together. Wesley and Lucas both had eager expressions on their faces. They were thinking that Grace would get scared later and could run into their arms. Grace, on the other hand, was thinking about running into Truman's arms. Truman was speechless seeing them like this. He didn't understand why they were so excited. Isn't it just seeing a ghost? Pay attention, these few infant spirits drooling are the little ghosts raised by Cooper. He called out a few little ghosts. He instructed them to cooperate with Lucas for the performance later. Go to the second floor to scare Grace a bit, then have Lucas come out to play the hero and save her. Things turned out just as he had expected. Grace was indeed frightened. But she immediately leapt into Truman's arms. And those little ghosts bit Truman's iron shirt. Even their teeth broke off. They lay on the ground wailing in pain. This made Truman think they were looking for trouble. And the one who arrived later, Lucas. He rushed up and pounced towards a little ghost emitting green light. But he had just caught this little ghost when he noticed that there were already 5 in front of Truman. What is this one in his hand then? Before he could react, the little ghost had already floated up. Truman, seeing this, casually swung his sword and cleaved the little ghost in half. Although Lucas was physically unharmed, he was truly frightened. He clung to Cooper's leg and started to cry. At the same time, Cooper also sensed the presence of the vengeful ghost. This tower is indeed peculiar. It's not suitable to stay here for long. Grace advised Truman to leave with them. But Truman insisted on his point of view. How can this be done? He has taken the money. Truman doesn't want to leave. Lucas immediately became anxious. He hurriedly said, "My cousin is the strongest disciple of the flying sect. Listening to my cousin is definitely right." Cooper looked around and expressed that he had never seen such a dangerous situation in the sect before. The energy here is too heavy. There are definitely more than just 2 or 3 ghosts. There might be one in every room. Truman also felt this was true, but for some reason, he couldn't sense the origin of this energy. It seemed to appear out of thin air. At this moment, with a sudden sound, countless ghosts appeared out of thin air. The ghosts surrounded them. This is actually a night parade of 100 ghosts. At a critical moment, Wesley also showed his manhood. He closed his eyes and shouted, "Truman, take Grace and leave first. Don't let me hold you back. Take care of Grace for me after you go out. I will bless you even in the underworld. Don't worry about me. I will be a good man again in 18 years. But when he opened his eyes again, he found that all the ghosts in front of him had been killed instantly by Truman's sword. And Truman didn't hear what he had just said clearly. He even asked him to speak more slowly. So he had to say somewhat awkwardly, "I told you to be careful." While on the other side, Cooper's face was as calm as water. He looked as if he were facing a formidable enemy. Standing in front of them was a massive ghost clan fierce beast with red fur all over its body, a human face, and a bull's body and horse legs. It had a pair of huge eyes resembling bronze mirrors. Such fierce beasts are usually only found in the underworld. However, it has now appeared in the mortal world. Could this place be related to the ghost country in the mortal world? Before Cooper could react, Fierce Beast kicked him out before he could react. He embedded deeply into the wall. Just one blow from Cooper was enough to ensure that. This Fierce Beast has at least the strength of a ghost general level. He can't deal with it. But he also has a way to escape. But as a righteous sect disciple, at this time, he cannot easily abandon his teammates. Truman saw that he remained silent and did not leave. With some confusion, he asked, "Why aren't you leaving?" This also directly angered Cooper. "Are you saying we don't want to leave? Do you not recognize this huge fierce beast? Even if you don't recognize it, you should at least be able to tell that this thing is hard to deal with, right? You go and take a look for me." "Wait, what are you trying to do?" Before he could finish his sentence, Truman had already made a sword-drawing gesture, accompanied by several flashes of sword light. This fierce beast was unsurprisingly killed in seconds. Watching Truman's simple and unadorned sword intent, Cooper's face was full of incredulity. His Spirit Fusion Realm Peak Master once cut off the head of a dragon with a single sword. He has always wanted to become a powerful sword cultivator like his master. But now he finds himself compared to Truman. Master Sword is simply a piece of garbage. So as Fierce Beast's body exploded, Truman's experience bar increased by 500. He also gained another little fanboy. Meanwhile, inside Bones Mountain outside U-Town, two hoarse and muffled voices suddenly rang out. Something went wrong at Ghost Tower. Someone went in and came out alive. Has the Fierce Beast been released? It has been released. But it was instantly killed by a terrifying little Taoist with a sword. If I personally intervened to keep them, I might not come back as well. Anyway, U-Town must be closely monitored. Our King Seal is about to be broken. We cannot afford any mistakes. This is a master with a very strong ability to observe. He just took a casual glance. He can remember the feature that the woman has a mole on the left side of her chest. He can even describe it in detail. Truman saw Master eating melon as soon as he returned to the Yun Taoist temple. Axel saw him coming back, casually handed over a piece of melon. Truman also subconsciously took it and said thank you. However, Axel said there was no need for thanks. This was all sent over by Luna yesterday. She came looking for you. I simply benefited from it. Upon hearing Luna Truman's name, I also felt somewhat confused. I don't know who that is. However, Axel remembers quite clearly. He vividly began gesturing the figure of this Luna. He even remembered the characteristic of a mole on the upper left of her chest. He described it all, but Truman just couldn't recall it. But when Axel mentioned that she had left behind 50 taels of silver, Truman remembered it. She is from Heavenward Palace Gate. They have also handled ghost cases together before. The 50 taels of silver is the reward for his help. At this point, Truman remembered the ghosts at the Ghost Tower, so he turned to ask Master if there was a group of ghosts that could peacefully stay in one place without being disturbed by humans and without harming anyone. In that case, could he go and eliminate this group of ghosts? Axel responded, "Haven't you been doing this all along? Like the lantern monster at 10 Mile Slope. But these ghosts are even more powerful and have acquired intelligence. Even if they have gained intelligence, so what? Demons can instruct, but it's difficult to redeem the devil. Evil and good do not exist in the nature of demons and monsters themselves. We can educate and guide them, if they keep quiet and behave themselves. Humans should also not disturb them, because they have their own path to follow. Once they fall into darkness, it's hard to turn back. If we leave them alone, it will certainly cause trouble. Ghosts are transformed from mean spirits that couldn't enter reincarnation. Under any circumstances, eliminating ghosts is equivalent to helping them return to the right path. So, for demons and ghosts, it is right to eliminate them upon encounter without distinguishing between good and evil. We call it soul liberation, which cannot be considered killing. Truman received guidance from Master. Truman politely knocked on the doors of the rooms at Ghost Tower that night, looking for ghosts. Then he performed the physical rite of deliverance on them one by one. Just one night's work. He cleared out all the ghosts in the entire Ghost Tower. This news. After learning who was behind the scenes at Bones Mountain, I was also taken aback. Is there really no way to deal with it? If you had seen him wield his sword, you wouldn't be saying such nonsense. So what should we do next? I have been praying that he won't come tomorrow. Truman was asked by Wesley to catch ghosts. He agreed after he succeeded. He will renovate the Taoist temple. The day after returning from Ghost Tower, Wesley renovated the Taoist temple. He works very efficiently. Truman couldn't help but admire him. Truman even volunteered to become the foreman. How could Master be allowed to do such a hard job? His master said that it was more reliable for him to personally supervise the work. The main concern is not that Truman is careless, but that the old Taoist has hidden too many treasures. With so many treasures to safeguard, trusting others might lead to losses. It is more reliable for him to do it himself. At this moment, a charming young girl appears, shouting loudly, "Hazel, I finally found you!" She then runs towards Truman. Just as she was about to rush into Truman's arms, he stopped her with a smack. The young girl spoke again. "Master Hazel, it was so hard to find you. Only you can save our clan members." Upon hearing the words, "Save people," Truman looked even more puzzled. The girl explained, "My grandfather saw you defeat the water ghost. He is the clan leader of our Khoi clan. My clan members have been captured by bad people. Grandfather asked me to recognize you as master and beg you to save them." It turns out she is a little fish that can transform into a human form. Truman calmed down. He asked, "Don't rush. Tell me first, where are your clan members? Can't remember? Who took them away? I'm not sure either. Is there any way to rescue them? I don't know." Old Taoist and Truman are very speechless. How come she knows nothing every time she is asked? Old Taoist asked, "What about the little girl? Do you remember anything?" The little girl also felt helpless. "I don't know why either. The more I search in my mind, the less I find." This situation seems to be difficult for Axel. It looks like you have just undergone shape transformation and are not yet accustomed to the human way of memory. It's okay. Stay here for now. When we have clues, we will go rescue fish. Is that okay? The little girl has only identified Truman as master and now looks towards Truman master. Is that okay? Truman hasn't come to his senses yet. Miss Hazel, you can actually make your own decisions. You don't need to ask me. Old Taoist is very anxious. He grabbed his silly disciple Koi and said recognizing you as master is a great opportunity. Just accept it. Don't worry. Her so-called recognition is not about becoming your servant, but about being bound to your fortune. She will help you increase your fortune. This is a win-win situation. Truman is still hesitating. I don't know what he is thinking about. Do you, in front of the screen, want Koi to recognize you as master? A voice from afar came from the worker. I found a box under the corner of the wall. Is it yours? They brought it over and opened it to take a look. It turned out to be a box of small gold bars. The master and disciple's eyes lit up with excitement at that moment. The nearby little Koi spoke up. Truman and his apprentice are currently repairing the Yuan Taoist temple. A little koi fish swam over and wanted to acknowledge Truman as its master. When they saw a box of small gold nuggets, the koi fish looked at the two master and disciple in front of him. Little Koi spoke. Do you both really like this thing? The master and disciple, concerned about saving face, began to talk nonsense earnestly. Money is an external matter. Cultivators naturally don't value money. But shouldn't one feel happy when finding money? Just then, Hazel took out a sachet and poured its contents on the ground. In an instant, a pile of gold and silver treasures appeared before their eyes. Truman was stunned. Where did all this money come from? I found it, said Hazel, inexplicably. Every time I go ashore for a walk, I can always pick up these shiny things. I think they look pretty, so I saved them up. Truman made a prompt decision. You must stay at the Yuan Taoist temple in the future. Bringing Hazel Truman to explore the ghost tower should be a great way to dominate all directions. Slaying demons and monsters. Having Koi is wonderful. He was still at level 72 yesterday, and he has already leveled up to level 73 today. He will continue tomorrow night. Bones Mountain Main Camp. A group of high-level elite monsters sent out tonight were all killed in seconds. Little Taoist probably hasn't noticed the difference between them and the previous ones. If this continues, the king's subjects will all be killed by him. We can only speed up the process of breaking the seal. As long as my king returns to the mortal world, all enemies will pay with their blood. Luna has arrived at the Yuan Taoist temple. Is Truman there? Luna came to see me for something. She looked at Hazel next to Truman and seemed a bit lost in thought. What a beautiful girl. Could she and Truman be a couple? Since ancient times, heroes love tall mountains. I have never heard of a fine steed flattening the plains. I may be overthinking it. I came to talk to you about the case. The day after we returned from Village Willow, a bailiff involved in the case died suddenly in the street. It was later discovered that his death was related to a copper coin found next to a body he had seen in Kinsley. Correct. On a normal copper coin is inscribed Heluo coin, while on that copper coin is written Hell Passage coin. Truman is very puzzled. What kind of copper coin is this copper coin? I will seek guidance from Master. I learned that this is a copper coin from the human world Ghost Country. Passed down since ancient times, every time Ghost Country appears in the human world, it brings great disasters. This copper coin is called the life-taking coin. It is specifically used to bewitch those who hold grudges. Ghosts use this coin to buy people's lives. After death, the person will turn into a vengeful spirit to retaliate against others. At this moment, Truman remembered. Right. This kind of copper coin also appeared at the scene of the Mateo family primary wife case. It all makes sense now. When I looked at the files initially, I thought her grudge shouldn't have reached the realm of turning into an evil spirit. If she had this Ghost Country copper coin, everything would make sense. Hazel spoke again. So picking up someone else's copper coin will kill people. Hazel is not afraid. We will only pick them up and not spend them. Luna is very anxious. Back to the point. Someone else died yesterday, also related to this copper coin. I want to ask you to come with me. Let's find out where the evil spirit behind the deceased is now. The only brothel in U-Town Spring Blossom Pavilion. When Truman subdued the vengeful spirit, a copper coin dropped several times. It is the Ghost Country copper coin, recently associated with a series of murder cases in U-Town. Luna had no choice but to seek Truman's help in solving the case together.